Welcome to The Lumber Word, where industry veterans Matt Beamer, Gregg Riley, Charles Dillatore, and Ashley Buckhold dissect the world of commodity lumber each week. We bring you up-to-date insights on supply, demand, and market trends, plus use our combined experience to tell you what it all means. Join us for informative and entertaining discussions that guarantee to make you wiser about all things lumber.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Lumber Word 111. We're recording it on the 26th, 2025. Gregg Riley, Charles Dillatore, Matt will be in a bit. Wanted to chat about the lumber market today, boys. So, Charles, you finished your conversation. You think you should take his shirt back off?
I mean, he was wondering what he looked like. I figured the best way for a camera still is to have Gregg Riley with his shirt off in his gamer chair.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. Anyhow, great to be here, boys. Hey, listen, Charles. Big week this week. You're in the intro. You're going to be in the intro.
I finally made the cut.
Yeah. You're like you're legit now, huh?
So I was driving through the middle of Iowa Sunday, and Dave sent me over the recording of it. He goes, "How does it sound?" I go, "Hey, Charles' name's in it now. It sounds great." So we just, because as young as you are, we were thinking about putting a new song over it. Like,
yeah. No, we do. You need to get something. You got to get something a little more edgy, you know.
Yeah, like one of those.
Maybe like, with Charles in it, we should have something, like maybe country and western.
Every song's country and western now. It's everything's crossed. Every genre's crossed the line now.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like I always say is like, when you can have rappers, playing with country guys, doesn't that just show can't we all just get along? We were just saying, Matt, that we got Charles in the intro now.
Cool. Yeah. Cause Charles was not, it's just the three of us.
Yeah, we got it. Now you got your mic hooked up?
I do.
Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. All right. We just can't hear Charles, but he's got tech support on it. And the guy's got an Apple Watch, so he should be good.
Love it. Hey Matt, how are you, man?
Really good. Can't complain at all. How are you?
That's great. Did you already go on spring break, or are you going on spring break?
No, that's coming up. So my son's coming up next Friday, and my other daughter's in Spain, so she's not doing spring break. We're going to go see her in May.
Oh, you're going over there in May. Nice. Well, she's in where?
Granada.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I want to get a report back because I'm going to be there in June.
Okay.
So
we're going to go to Madrid, and then we're going to Granada, and then we're going to fly to Rome after that. And then
I fly from Malaga.
What's that?
Malaga. Actually, I think it's called Malaga. I'm going to fly from Malaga to Rome.
From Granada to Barcelona, then to Rome.
Oh, nice. That sounds like a great trip.
But yeah, so next week we're gonna take a couple days and go skiing over in Central Oregon, and then my youngest daughter and my oldest daughter, their spring break is like the last week of March. So I don't know what we're gonna do. Probably just hang out here.
Okay. Hey, Gregg, congratulations on your new addition to your family today.
Thanks very much. Dean McLaren Fleischman was 8 pounds 1 ounces yesterday. Mother and child are both happy, healthy, and doing well. So I'm gonna head on a kite. I'm gonna head on a kite tomorrow and head up and introduce myself in person.
Sweet.
Right on. Well, we're going to jump into a little bit about the market, and then Charles can jump in. So ended up the week pretty strong last week on the rumors. Can we call this tariff rumor 2? Because they named the different duties. Like we're on duty 5 or something now, or anti-dumping number 5. So this was tariff.
We're on howdy duty.
Tariff rumor number 2, which caused a lot of the Canadian mills to go off the market or put stuff with a 25% tariff. Some were still selling. And then we got a pretty good bite yesterday. Prices moved really good on both spruce. I'm assuming some U.S. species also. And we'll ask Charles. And it continued this morning. And all of a sudden, I went home for lunch and I came back and the board was down like $40.
Ash, you did it on your lunch break. Don't lie to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
You broke it.
And
you're a dream crusher.
The board came ripping down. I'm wondering, I'm like, well, not everybody does something at the same time. So somebody must have said something, or I guess Trump said that they're working things out. Anybody have any idea what's going on? So that, and then that kind of is what I saw today. That was the worst explanation of the market. Somebody want to take over and help me on this one?
I mean, frontier gibberish. You're giving frontier gibberish.
It was worse than that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, hey, like, it's like yesterday was like, yeah, no, we're going forward with everything. And then today it's like, yeah, we're going to see, because we're looking at reciprocal tariffs. We may just delay this until April 2nd. Let me say this for our listeners who have been here for the last 3 months, 4 months. There will be no 25% tariff on Canadian lumber. It is not going to happen. So I don't know when I get to start collecting my bets. I don't know how much time I gave on people, but I say I'm gonna collect, but we'll just have to see what the timing's like. By the way, we're going to continue to be talking about this every 30 days, probably
until November. I said last week.
No, until the duty goes up to 30 or 40%, and then we don't need to worry about lumber anymore. I mean, that's the reality. There, I said my piece.
Charles, Southern Pine, what went on with that this week? I heard some of the Canadian mills that actually own the U.S. mills tried to bump their prices on pine too, but it wasn't flowing through as much.
Oh, there's definitely a scenario where everybody's trying to solidify pricing with the little bit of order file they have, but I don't know how much longevity that's going to have, especially considering what happened this afternoon. I mean, I did the same thing you did, Ash. I read an article that came in my inbox, and then next thing you know, I look at one of my screens and everything's red. Yeah. And I was blown away at what happened. And then 20 minutes after it went down to 590 low, I had 4 phone calls from 4 different sawmills.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, everybody has this positive tone, but I think the inventory of finished homes is so high, it's going to prevent people from buying more lumber.
I don't know. I'll challenge that.
I welcome a good Gregg Riley challenge.
So there's currently 9 months supply of existing homes. I say that, and you can see now that. So I think the median price was up 3% over year, and the average price was down 4% year over year. I'm going to say that those finished homes are disproportionately to major national builders, and they are going to move that product. And what you're going to see over the next 2 or 3 months is we're going to see big increases in new home sales, which will look really good. Because why? Because those big builders are able to buy down the mortgages. They're going to and they have really good profit margin, and so they're going to keep that. They're going to keep that product moving. That's my opinion on that.
Just to add to that, you pointed out last year how we saw something similar to this in multifamily, right? Where you had a large amount of multifamily under construction. Is that correct?
There was a record amount of multifamily under construction in the fourth quarter of last year. I mean, coming into 2024, we had a record number of multifamily units under construction.
And we kind of over the last year went from record amounts of single family, or a large amount of single family under construction, to, as we pointed out when we talked a week ago or 2 weeks ago about the completions, those completions seem to be increasing substantially. I think it's 9% year over year.
We completed 1.6 million plus houses last year, and we built 1.3 million. So we definitely had a drawdown.
Yeah.
Did you see
Charles,
the 10-year is down to like 4.1?
I did see that.
That's
Yeah.
going to help too.
There's probably a bigger headwind with just overall economic, this quote unquote recession, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude, you're having a good time over there, Charles.
Listen,
man. Join the
all I
party.
gotta say today has been no absence of shit show. Okay, absolute disaster. The only thing missing is a truck in a ditch somewhere in Lee County, South Carolina.
You said that. Don't say that.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's anything that could, would, and has gone wrong. So I'm trying to be real lighthearted because when I first got on here,
That's how my day started out, drinking from a fire hose.
Well, I got Ashley first thing this morning, and he was like, he'd been like his dog had been kicked and he'd been backed over by the truck. I mean, he was like, man, I had to pump him up. Huh?
I had one of those.
Starbucks coffee's not working for you in the morning?
No, I had too much. I had too much to start the
much.
day off. I started out with a half a pot at home and swung by for a Venti.
A what?
A Venti coffee, a big one. And then I came in here and I had my day planned. I was going to do it was planned to a T. And next thing, trucks are in the wrong place. Something got wrong on a contract. Something didn't pick up. Everything was sideways. And so, you know what I did? I called Gregg and bitched about it.
Yeah.
So your problems went away, is what you're saying.
Tell me to shut up.
It actually really worked out well. Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to be lighthearted here, man. Just today's been interesting.
One of those days.
Yeah.
One of those days.
Matt, I wanted to ask Matt on U.S. species, like what's going on U.S. species? I have not heard anything about it because I don't follow it as much. We haven't talked in a bit. What's going on there?
Well, I mean, I think the cloudiness or confusion about whether you're going to pay a 25% tariff or not over the last week or so has helped the U.S. mills in general. If you want to get a pretty good guaranteed ship time and not have to worry about the 25%, then you call us or you call some of the other U.S. producers. So I think they've benefited.
What's
and
you guys have a big shipping file? I mean, are you 3 weeks out on cars?
We are. I would say like we're into March.
Well, Matt, next week is March, right? I mean, are you?
We're like 310, let's say 2-week order file, kind of a standard order file, right?
Okay.
I mean, we're not.
Okay, right.
We're not loading cars.
It's solid. It's not really. It's solid. It's not stretch up, but you got nothing that you're sitting around going for prompt loaders that you need to worry about.
Not really. And it's just been nice and steady and I'd say kind of leaning towards good. And then, our inventory has been good or better than good. And so, things are clicking along over at the mothership here. I have no complaints.
Do you think what happened to the board this afternoon is going to have an impact on that in 24 hours, Matt?
Oh, it always does. People watch the board and they if they had an idea they might buy something, they're probably going to wait. But I don't think. I'm just
kind of bummed. As well, like when it went sub 600 in March, I was like, well, you know what? I mean, how much better? From that standpoint, I look at the basis probably came all the way in right there. Now it's back up at 620. So it's up $30 from the low.
That's freaking crazy.
And Ashton, you asked what it was. So like the only bid in the market up here at these big premiums has been either the roll, right? Guys, buying March to sell May, or the algo. And the algo was going ahead and outright buying May because that's where the momentum was. The spread was going up. So, I mean, I think what happened was, a few more guys decided that, hey, the market's 600 and I can sell 670. That seems like a lot of money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you and I talked this morning, and he said, well, geez, let's put some orders in at 675, and then we saw the high was 674.50. That seems personal to me.
That feels personal. that feels. It's funny. Like,
how does that happen? How does that happen?
I want it to feel better than it is. I mean, did we sell good? Yes. Did we sell great? Not really. I mean, we had better orders in the last week or two than we've had, but in seeing some jobs. But I mean, we had this conversation this morning of, hey, let's go out and keep selling some stuff, right? And it definitely doesn't feel as good as in my head I want it to be. That makes sense?
Yeah, but you're a trader, Ash. You're on both sides of the game, man.
You think it is, Ash, and it's never as bad as you think it is.
No, it's not. It's not.
Balancing that. This is kind of like a Mattism, I think. Matt, isn't that one of your Mattisms?
Saying it's never as good as you think or never as bad as you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and we'll ship it on time no matter how long it takes, and we're not happy unless you're not happy. Those are all of my Mattisms.
Can we? Dude, can we
that.
Can we address something though?
My brain just picked both of those up.
Oh man! I'm gonna put that in my signature now.
That's as good as it gets.
I'm gonna put it at the bottom of my signature.
God. That's so good.
Is it just me, or do I feel like everybody's just really pissed off in the lumber business? Like everybody's so on edge.
It's just you. Everybody else is really happy.
No, Charles. I think.
Well, not everybody's in Hawaii, Greg. Okay.
I think.
Whoa.
I think people are. I mean, I know I've been frustrated with the lack of any resolution with the Canadian stuff going on, and I've taken my turns hating different people. Anybody from people writing letters in the United States about how we can produce all the lumber here in the United States and we don't need Canadians to, my friends in Canada being upset that we think they're going to be the 51st state, which I agree. We said last week, that's just terrible chatter.
Overstepping bounds.
Right? It's overstepping bounds. And we need the Canadians to produce lumber. And the guy on Twitter said we are shilling for the Canadian things. I'm like, if you listen to our podcast, we're definitely not doing that. And
he said what?
He said we're basically a mouthpiece for the Canadian mills. I don't know if that was a joke or I'm like, have you listened to our podcast? We take both sides.
Well, I mean, I've been kind of defensive of the Canadians.
I want to take, Matt kind of has been showing for him, but that's okay because they have Canadian mills. I mean, Ash, you and I probably should be stronger advocates since we have Canadian mills too. But
I said the only people making money in this whole thing, which upsets me at this point, are lawyers. Yeah. And everybody should get back together and figure out something because we need, unless all the mills that are in the states where the government there won't let you do anything and want to turn it green, or in the South, where you can basically, if we can come up with 20 more billion board feet of production in the next 30 to 60 days, that'd be great.
Or you can do like what I've done. Like I haven't been frustrated at all because I've been consistent and confident the whole way in that there's not like things that don't make sense. When you have one of your biggest trading partners who you have, if you take oil and gas out of the equation, you have a $50 billion surplus with. And all that oil and gas goes directly to Midwest refineries that can't get that supply anyplace else. You go, this whole thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so, I just look at things that don't make sense. That's the way it's going to be.
Spade to spade. I agree with you 110%.
And so, I think if everybody just started going, hey, it's going to be what it's going to be, and just ignore it, they'd be way better off.
I agree with you because I'm kind of tired of talking about it.
I mean, let's just assume that there is a tariff. Okay, let's say that there is a tariff and it starts on April 1st. And so you look at the May contract and it's priced at $655.50. We have major support at $555. That's $100 bill right there, right? And you're almost absorbing the entire 25%. Potentially right then and there, right at $655. I mean, I kind of feel like we've priced the tariff into the market now, and
it's completely priced in.
yeah. So any
was
shock
actually your
that's
point
any
yesterday.
shock that's to the let's push it off into the future is just going to push the market down immediately, which you saw a $40 correction, $50 correction from it went from 640 something down to 590 today in March, all on emotion. And now here's the thing.
$86.
Here's the thing. From the Americans' perspective, my customers and myself, if we have to pay the tariff, we're just going to pay the tariff. We don't really care about the what. We care about the when, right? I mean, the when is what matters to me and my customers. They're going to pay that if they have to, right? And the Canadian perspective is different. It's more like, how dare you? It's
adversarial. 100%.
Well, I mean, part of it is Trump's rhetoric, right? I mean, he hasn't been very kind. He keeps talking about the 51st state and, Justin Trudeau's a nice fella and, things like that. It's dismissive. And so,
I mean, after the hockey game, after the hockey game, they're like talking about us as the 9th province.
I know. I mean, look for my Canadian friends and brethren, look, it's not the what.
I'm glad I bet on the tariff, not on the hockey game. But what a great game! I'd like to see that in a best of 7 series.
If there is a tariff, we're going to pay it, and the Canadians will actually still get paid, right? They're not going to go broke. We're not going to stop buying their lumber, and they need to stop getting tied into Trump's rhetoric and the idea that this is going to crush business between the two countries. It's not. And like, I'm not really 100% sold with Gregg's theory about there's just absolutely no chance. There is a chance, but I do think that any kind of a tariff would have several different carve outs. I really do.
It's just like the movie Dumb and Dumber, the chance where he's got the chance with the girl. It's a 1 in a million.
Yeah.
And he goes, at least there's a chance.
I got a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, look, don't take it personal. It's just business. And we are prepared to pay the 25% if we have to. Because in reality, the 25% is not going to be the full 25%. Some of that is going to be absorbed by the U.S. consumer. Some of that's going to be absorbed by the Canadian mills. But also, the 25% isn't completely, it's not just a set 25%. There's deductions and freight and all these things. It's going to end up being a smaller percentage than that. And we've seen in our careers with duties and quotas that, these things tend to work themselves out to equilibrium at some point in the future. There's an initial reaction where everybody kind of freaks out, but it does eventually work itself out. And, higher prices tends to lead to higher margins. So, that's not necessarily a terrible thing as we go forward in 2025.
So question, the one thing that's bothered me for the last few weeks, and I've heard it from the administration, and I heard it from people in the industry. We don't need Canadian lumber. We have all the lumber we need here. And I'm going to say that is absolutely fake news. That is not true. And nor can we ever convert that product over into usable lumber within the next 5 to 10 years, based on what we have and what we know. That's how I feel about it.
We have all the lumber we need right here.
Trees.
If you allocate supply. I mean, we saw what happened during COVID when people were going, boy, I hear there's a lumber shortage. There was never any shortage of lumber. We just allocated supply to those people that were willing to pay the most price, right? And that's why we went to $1,700, because there were some buyers that weren't going to run out. They were going to supply their customers. And then you had whole segments of the market that kind of stepped away. And they didn't participate at those numbers. And so everybody, anybody that said, hey, I can't get it, I go, oh, yes, you can. You can get it. All you got to do is pay for it. There was a difference if you looked at a lot of the other building products, whether it was, cement siding or I-joist or LVL. Those things were on allocation, and the privileged few got all that they wanted, and a lot of people didn't get any, and they couldn't get it at any price.
Yeah, the highly allocated stuff. What I'm saying though is like for the amount of footage, we're pretty close in supply and demand right now, unless I'm way off.
Oh no,
Where
it's
if
pretty well close to an equilibrium. Yeah.
so if we didn't have Canadian, my question is if we couldn't have Canadian lumber come across tomorrow, do we have enough lumber here to build what we want to build?
Not even close. And you know,
That's my question.
Like what people don't understand, we understand because we're in the business. I happen to work for a company that owns 10, 11 sawmills. What are you going to do to go hire a bunch of new loggers and train them up and go into the woods? You're going to have to hire more shifts, right, to increase production at your sawmills. So assuming that Trump and the administration is able to unlock the national forests and create some opportunity there for Western sawmills, you still have to go out and find more people to do the actual work, the loggers and
Most
the
dangerous job in the
and the
world,
production
being a
guys,
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not exactly what people that are 18 years old
or working in Charles's yard.
Yeah, I mean, they're not thinking, oh, I want to be a logger. They're thinking, I want to write some code and work for Elon Musk and that kind of stuff. And I want to be the next startup and make $1 billion. They're not dreaming of being a logger. It's an uphill battle.
And then you add to that, if we didn't have any Canadian lumber tomorrow, and we just did it all in the South, and in there, would that drive the price of Southern logs and U.S. logs up?
Of course it would.
Yeah,
of course it would.
In the West, though,
the
only thing that would keep the log prices from going up is if there was more federal timber being offered. That people don't understand. There's only like 10% of all the log supply in the Northwest comes from federal land. The other 90% either comes from state land or private land. I'd say it's like an 80-10 mix, private to state. So, it's like there's a very small amount right now. And it's been that way for quite some time. That's why you saw the mills that are still around, they own timberland. And they,
So we got a wide range. We have a wide range of listeners, right, Ashley? I mean, we have, like people all across the spectrum that listen to the show. Number one rated podcast in the lumber, building materials, housing industry. I mean, we are number one rated. There's no question about it. That's indisputed. That's undisputed, right?
It is.
I mean, hey, Matt, did you hear? Charles is in the intro now. Huh?
That's awesome.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I know.
Big time.
Isn't that great?
Greg, you talk about this podcast like Conor McGregor talks about his ability to fight. It's quite funny. It's really good. I like it. Everybody needs a good hype man. You got to be your
little
own
shout out to a guy.
man.
Rick from Millard Lumber asked for a different link than YouTube too the other day. So we've got a bunch of people listening all over that we've been.
So
tracking.
here's my question to the group. Okay, you're a retail pro yard. You have multifamily business on the books for Q2, Q3. What do we recommend? And we have the disclaimer at the end of the show. You should seek your own financial advice. Don't listen to us, yahoos. What would your recommendation to those people be today with what you know and what you don't know, and what you don't know you don't know?
When does the job start?
Okay.
That's
When
gonna
does
be
the
the
job
first
start? I'm saying if you have multifamily business for Q2, Q3, right? I mean, there's two questions there. What do you do for Q2? What do you do for Q3? And if you're a retail yard, should you have more inventory today? Like what would you recommend people that had like, hey, we just woke up and we don't know what to do in the market. Charles,
pick me. Very easy. Make sure you have species versatility, number one, so that way you can minimize your outlay of capital, your capital costs, your inventory levels, and you get quicker turns from a pro yard perspective. From a multifamily perspective, make sure you still have the same species versatility, but you also have the ability to hedge at least 30 to 40% on the front half of what's going on because of some of the unknowns that are occurring, right? And not to mention in panels in the South, you got a couple mills that are going to go down for PMs over the next couple of weeks in the first part of March. So where panels are now and where they could be in 3 weeks could be two totally different comparisons. So it's kind of it's got to be a mixed bag and a hybrid approach for both sides, right? When you look at it from a historical perspective, because pro yards historically don't have species versatility, but they are now experiencing that and dipping their toe in that pond. And then from a multifamily perspective, you know, some guys want to buy out the whole job. Some guys want to buy out the front half. Some guys want to buy out the first 60%. My suggestion would be is if you have the ability to lock a price through June and get rid of some of this volatility on the front half, I think you'd be in the best position possible.
Can I answer?
Golden seal stamp.
Matt.
I would say if it's a second quarter job, you just want to lay it off to somebody now, you know, preferably a sawmill or a company that has the means to cover the entire thing or most of it. And, you know, I would just consider that business done. And then if it's a third quarter thing, I'd still probably look to cover at least part of it, you know, at the moment to hedge your bet a little bit. Cause you never know, you know, you don't know what it's going to be like this summer. And I don't know, you know, if there wasn't all this rhetoric about tariffs and whatnot, I would say be patient, because typically the summertime, you know, this June swoon, and it's just a time where, like last year, we hit our lows in July. I mean, a lot of times in the summer, it's kind of boring, right? To be honest, but this year might be different, and it might be just because of things that are outside of our control. So I would probably just cover all the second quarter stuff and then cover a good portion of the third quarter stuff if possible.
Gregg, I like the way you framed that question and took us down a different road while one of the front right wheels was wobbling a little bit. First thing I would do,
brother. I'm here for you.
First thing I would say is you could pick price and you could pick a time, something over a time frame when something may get to a price, but you don't want to try to pick both of those, because you'll probably be wrong somewhere. And I would ask customer, is there money in this at these numbers today? And if they said yes, I would say, is it acceptable numbers? Then you should cover at least 50% of it in the first quarter. And I like what Matt said and what Charles said about optionality, especially what Matt said is pushing the risk onto somebody else, because there's always somebody else willing to take some risk on. And you got to make sure that person performs, though, and they don't, you know, do what Matt said, ship however long it takes. We're gonna make it. We're gonna. How did that go, Matt?
That was such a word salad.
How'd that go?
We'll ship it on time no matter how long it takes.
Whatever it takes us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We'll ship it on time no matter how long it takes. That's a funny inside joke there at Hamburg.
So I would.
What was the other one, Matt? What was the other one?
We're not happy unless you're not happy.
Yes. So I would be like, hey, if you got money in it, great.
I mean, you don't want to be happy all the time, then.
Well, you're in the lumber business. That's not going to happen, Greg.
And Greg, I guess this is kind of like to your point where you had a guy call you this week and said, hey, I had a guy, one of our sales guys took an order early this month and on a multifamily deal, and we got to cover it.
Yeah, he's sending me the PO right now.
Did he pay you your premium, your market-based premium that you always say nobody was willing to pay?
Ooh. Well, it'll be delivered using Gregg's freights.
Greg, what's your opinion? You know,
hold on. I'm still
waiting. I'm a big proponent. My motto is BCBB. Be cheap, be busy.
Hey, Greg, so you asked the question. What's your answer?
So, like my answer today is that I agree. You guys all three gave really good answers. I mean, if you're multifamily and you have the second quarter, you really don't have a whole lot of choice. You need to have, at least a portion of that, if not all of it covered, and if you're off sides on it, you're probably going to cover a little bit less and try and squeeze it. I agree with you. I mean, Q3 is, if you can cover it with money in it, then by all means you should do that. And if you can't cover it with money, then you're probably better off to just hang on to it. And let's see what happens, to Matt's point, if we hit a soft spot in, late April or May. Broken record. there's not going to be a tariff. And so I think that we're conversely in January, we saw no buying in front of the February 2nd date. But once that date came and went, I mean, there's been plenty of buying. We've seen a lot of jobs get pulled forward and bought in February. And the seasonal high, my book is the seasonal high in lumber is somewhere between the middle of February and the 1st of April. Why is that, Greg? Well, first quarter is the lowest production quarter of the year, and the customers are trying to build inventory for the spring building season because March, April, May are the 3 busiest months of the year for the building. So, if I look and we're coming up on March 1st, so my question is, hey, are we going to go higher in March, or, is this week the high, right? That's my conundrum, is trying to figure out, hey, how much of that job pull forward, and if is there more? And if there's more and there's people out there, use whatever like air pockets that we get to go ahead and buy that, because I think prices will be higher in the second half of the year than in the first half of the year.
Do you think
prices,
especially if we do get, hey, if the like mortgage rates now with a 4%, if you get down sub 4% on the 30-year, and you can get mortgages back down to the low 6s, then I think that's going to spur a decent amount of buying, especially, Matt, when everybody gets their Doge check.
Do you think that that we're going to have a repeat of what happened in February, where the first 2 weeks after it was cleared up that there's not going to be a tariff, the phones just kind of rang off the hook and there was all kinds of lumber being consumed? Do you think that's going to happen again here the first couple of weeks in March, now that we have some clarity?
I think the opposite is going to happen.
I think it'll be the opposite.
Yep, opposite, complete opposite.
I think it'll be the opposite. I think the first couple of weeks in March will be pretty squishy.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley and I we probably have a record order file for trucks right now. Because a lot of mills have been out of the market because either, hey, we're adding 25% or we're not quoting or we're only quoting. There's a lot of that. So, we've gotten a lot of truck business, and it's like 3, 4, 6, 8 week ship time, right?
Wow.
So,
and your reasoning, Charles?
I think everybody kind of jumped the gun and got emotional. And I think anybody that got really emotional and got really invested in what happened just got their clock cleaned. And the bubble is going to burst. The question is, how extreme is the burst?
Also, I'm a fully invested, like bear on the market.
Oh, I am too. I'm fully invested on what we have to do every day, but I don't think you're going to see a repeat of what happened in February and first part of March. I think February was your opportunity to sell March and first part of April.
Ashley?
But
yeah, I'm just thinking, since I walked in this morning and there was 4 cars sitting there, and I'm like, hey, Greg, I got to hate buy these. He's like, well, he's like, we don't need them. And I begged and pleaded and ended up buying 4 of them. And he's like, don't worry, we'll be okay.
It's only 4 cars.
So it's only 4 cars.
Yeah.
Of the item that's the most overvalued, but it's all good. But I wanted to, I think when I got a bigger macro picture to this, I guess. I look at the amount of inventory of homes out there, which we all acknowledged are out there. I do agree that they're going to get sold because the big builders have them, and they've got decent margins, and they're going to do whatever it takes to clear that trade and start and keep doing that, because that's what they do for a living. And I still am a big believer in the way that we're setting up this economy in the United States are hard assets. Not like soft commodities, but like gold and stuff like that, and are going to have some value going forward. And I still think there's going to be some volatility and some housing prices that ran up in different areas and all that. But I still think people like owning a house, and that's going to stay solid. right now. And so I don't think we're going back to the low numbers we saw, but we certainly could have some soft pockets in here.
The underlying fundamentals on a demand side, the underlying are positive. The headwinds have been price and cost, i.e. interest rates. So, if you get relief, prices continue to come down, interest rates fall, then that's kind of a positive.
No, it'd be a great thing. It would be a fantastic thing. It would make things less squishy.
Here's my question. Okay, we sold some 2x4 16s, and by the way, a mutual friend of ours all called me last night and said, Greg, a pat on the back. He said 2 months ago, 2x4 and 2x6 were going to be on top of each other. I'm just like, he actually said 2x4 and 2x6 16. So we really dialed it in, strapped the mask on. But so I can arguably say we've sold like 670 FOB most places and ports. I heard there was 705 were some of the ports today for next week's shipment on 16s. Don't know whether it traded. Mike, we were asking what we would do as risk managers for multifamily. What do you think Mills would do if a customer came to him and said, I'll buy $675 2x4 16s for the rest of the year? Do you think they'd sell them?
They won't sell them. They won't sell them.
I don't think they would either.
But they won't.
I don't think they would either.
Will not. Nope, not a chance. But maybe Matt, maybe you can shed some light on that from your perspective. But anything they will not. They want the incremental value. They want, I might be missing out on.
But I guess my question,
the Mills have the
same
that they fear as the general public that there's going to be a 25% tariff. And so all of a sudden that 675 looks pretty crappy. And then you got to go in your boss's office and explain to him, why'd you sell a whole year's worth at a fixed price? You should have put a floating number on it, like with the idea that you can reprice it each quarter type thing. That would be a more sound strategy than just locking it in.
Yeah. Great point, Matt. Maybe I should have said more like, would they be willing to sell a firm number for the second and third quarter?
I think so. I think creative people would take on that challenge. But then you just got to find the right person to talk to. I don't know who everybody in the industry is that would do that, but there's several people that would, and a few of them are right here on the podcast. So, but generally speaking, the mill guys aren't getting paid any extra for coming up with some, year-long pricing strategy. It's not really part of how mills think and act.
From a mill sales perspective, it's like, hey, you sell on the market. If you do something where you sell forward at a price and the market's higher, then you either lose your job or get a lot of, get shoveled a lot of SH. And if it works out and it's really great, then you either, you get like, maybe you get like some kudos, or if it's not the right customer and you've got counterparty risk, then you get crawfished, and you have an unhappy customer. So it is delicate. I mean, we've dealt with this for all the years, and whether we're forward buying from mills, and we're risk managers, so we hedge it on the board. So when we give somebody a price for May, June delivery, we're locking that price in. The same thing as when we're selling forward today. The guy wants something. He asked for the price for August, September, and I gave him the price. And I mean that's just bread and butter for us, and has been for a lot of years.
Hey, I want to ask Charles and Matt both a question. So Charles, last week you were talking about 2x4 and 2x6 9-foot Southern Pine 104 and 5/8 solids, and it's interesting. On the way to lunch, a guy called me today, and he was talking one of his big customers is switching all their 4-inch from spruce over to pine. It was
in the Midwest.
I don't even think he knew he was giving me any great information. But like, to me, the first thing I did was call Gregg. I'm like, wow.
Well, you didn't call me. Why didn't you call me?
It was.
Thanks, Ash. Hold on.
Yeah.
Though. When I get information, I share it pretty quickly. I gotta wait to get my information from you, Ash. But when I get it, I send it in the group.
I literally got it 45 minutes ago, and you three are all getting it together before anybody else right now. But I thought that was interesting. So my question is, have you sold any of the Have you gotten a better lift on that product in the last week?
Kansas, Missouri, Colorado, and Utah. Actually,
that's awesome. And Matt, my question to you is: did you move from that 2x4 8-foot number 3?
Yeah, I moved
last week?
I moved a fair bit. Actually, I've had a fantastic week selling everything in terms of truck business. My inventory has just been ballistic, and so it's been thanks for your help and thanks for the efforts of people on my trading floor and myself included. We've been able to move a lot of those, and the job's not completely done, but I can see the end of the runway for sure, and it sure feels good. I'm sleeping better now, so thanks.
Ash, you want to do a quick hey, blue light special kind of thing this week, or what do you want to do? You want to do Merry Date Dump?
Yeah, well, let's do kind of a combination of Merry Date Dump, what we like and don't like, and kind of segue into that. What if you got something sitting around that you can help somebody out with, or a product or a service, throw it in there, and that's what we want to do. So who's going to flip the coin and go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Hello, man. What I don't like and what I don't want to talk about anymore are tariffs. I've had enough.
I'm dumping tariffs.
I've had enough.
That's great. That's a good dump.
I mean, I've had enough. The market's already priced it in. You can look at board and everything is kind of where it needs to be. Let's just stop talking about it and let's just transact business. That is first and foremost. Southern Yellow Pine as a whole, I think if Mills can kind of hold the line for a couple more weeks, they might get some continuity here on pricing, but it'll be testy for sure because there's a lot of wood all over the place. As far as what I love, obviously I love anything that we produce, but long term, I think Southern Yellow Pine is going to have more and more of an influence in the upper Midwest and the Plain States than anybody originally anticipated. I mean, we sold cars into Colorado last week, and it's one of those things to where, and quoted a huge job into Missouri and Kansas. So it's something that I think people such as yourselves, obviously with your diversification and the North American species, it's becoming more real, more tangible. Whereas a couple of years ago, it was just hearsay, right? It was really just me talking about it. That's kind of really where I stand on the whole deal. I'm tired of tariffs. I'm tired of talking about it. I think the market's already done what it needs to do. Let's move on and stop being so emotional.
Yeah, I'd say, I guess, what do I want to marry? I mean, I don't really want to marry anything. I mean, we've already priced in, a lot of the cost of whatever potential tariffs there are. What I really want to do is just manage my inventory well and try to maximize, what I'm doing there. And then maybe I'll have to make a hard decision down the road here in a month. But in the short term, things are kind of going my way, and I'm just pleased that I can be part of that. And then as far as the dumping thing, I mean, I guess I still want to sell 2x4 number 3. I've got another 5 or 6 trucks that need to go away. In addition, I'm just going to point this out. I pointed this out on an offering that I sent out to the world today, that 12-foot 2 and better 2x4 spruce is highly desired and worth well over $600 delivered on trucks to a lot of markets. And yet 12-foot number 3 is down, and I'm selling them for $445. So you're talking like almost a $200 spread between those two things. And I personally, I want to sell 12s, but after I sell 5 or 6 more trucks, I'm probably just going to jack my price $50 because that spread is way too wide. And I think 12 and longer plate still has a value. 12s count as part of that. If you look at what I'm selling 14s, 16s, 18s, and 20s for in number 3, that's well over $500. So there's no reason for 12-foot number 3 to be that cheap other than I have a lot of them. And when I don't have a lot of them anymore, that price is going straight up. So that's something I would pay attention to in terms of me dumping, so to say. Dating the market, I'm looking at Western species in general. I think that as long as there's rhetoric out there, people would look at U.S. milk production as a more sure thing. And so, Charles and I are going to benefit from that. And then my Canadian stuff is not going to benefit from that, So I'm dating U.S. species at the moment, in terms of trading. My ideas, what I want to buy and what I want to sell. I'm pushing more of the U.S. stuff.
All right, I'm going to jump. I want to be. I like Charles, what you said about not wanting to talk tariff anymore. I want to marry my Canadian and my U.S. friends, and I want I want everybody to live happy in one big community together again. That's where I'm at. Okay. And I'm also married to my inventory because, as someone once said, inventory is an asset. And
do we really want to give him those props? Come on.
No, that's okay.
And it kills me to do it. Huh?
What I'm dating, I'm going to say, I picked one item here, something I want to sell. I'm dating. Do you guys know I'm dating 2x12 Austrian spruce right now?
If you want to date 2x12, you ought to date 2x12 14 in Southern Yellow Pine at $310.
I woke up the other morning to to an email of a vessel going to Rhode Island of 2x12, 10 to 16, Providence, Rhode Island. She came from Providence, out on Rhode Island, right? Isn't that a song? And I'm like, when was the last time I actually sold a truck of 2x12?
Never.
It was probably 20 years ago, maybe. So I'm dating that right now. And so I guess I'm married to Canadians and Americans, and I'm dating Europeans. So
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Wow,
man of people.
You left the door wide open.
There's only two sexes now, though. At least that's good to know.
Ashley will not be running for office anytime soon.
Dumping out. I don't know if I'm dumping it or not, but I still have. We've been buying all along MSR. It probably isn't the best season for it right now, but we've got a lot of 14 and 16 foot 2100 and 1650 we've accumulated. We're shipping out as number 2. So if you're an MSR buyer, I'm going to sell it to you at MSR prices. If you're a number 2 buyer, you may get it on your number 2 load.
Not after they listen to the podcast.
That's a trade secret, Ash. You're not supposed to tell anybody that.
Right.
You're not supposed to tell anybody that.
So for those who listen, the only way I'll know you're listening is if you tell me you're only using it for number 2, but you want the MSR, because that's the way it's going to work out. And the only other thing I've got that I want to look at selling is I have some 2x6 10-foot number 2 premium product, spruce, coming into Chicago and Buffalo, New York, that if you want a beautiful product that's 2x6 10-foot premium, I'm going to be selling that in trucks.
There you go.
Okay. So, I mean, this is an opportunity for our listeners to both, get some business. And so I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon. I mean, I've been putting some 2x4 yellow pine basis trades on, and I just want to let you know, it's worked out for me pretty well. So I want to go back to the well. I'd look at I'd look to buy multiple cars of 2x4 10s and 12s and number 2. I could probably even take 8s and 14s, 16s. I still have a pretty good slug of, so I'll probably look to balance that out. I'm going to take it by carload up to Pennsylvania, or carload or truckload up to Pennsylvania. So any of our listeners, send me what you can do there. In terms of, if I look at positive momentum items, 2x4 and 2x6 9s and 2x4 16s are the things that are, those are the things that are out there on the crazy hot matrix that are really getting things going. I'm trying to figure out where that relationship. So if we went back to last September, October, and 2x6 16s were $200 over 2x4 16s. They were $200 over. Today I might say that, 2x4 might be $20 over, $25 over. And I'm trying to wrap my head around, is 2x4 going to be $100 over in the next 30 days? And I'm feeling like that's the number. I think you're going to be, it's far better chance to be getting, 7 handle on 2x4 and still a low 6 handle on 2x6. So that's what I'm thinking right now. I haven't, haven't really done it in.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions.
Do the Europeans prefer to produce more 2x4 or more 2x6?
They're bisexual on that.
Agnostic, Greg.
Agnostic. That's the right word. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
There's a big divide. There's a giant gulf between bisexual and agnostic.
Whoa.
No, they go both ways. They go both ways. It means the same thing. It means the same thing. Agnostic means you don't care. Bisexual means you go both ways.
Amoral means you don't care, right?
Agnostic means you have no opinion.
You're indifferent.
It doesn't matter.
You're not sure. Yeah.
You're indifferent. Right.
Okay.
No, I have my thesaurus in front of me. That's how I came up with that word.
Charles, I love that you're on the pod. You know what? I can't wait to get up to Montreal. We're gonna have a blast up there, man.
Yeah, it's
gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a good time.
So, do you like 2x4? So you do like 2x4 number 216s then too, versus spruce, like as a hedge. Also, you did mention that, and southern pine.
16s are fine, but what I really want to buy is I want to buy straight cars of 10s and 12s, and maybe I could probably take a 14 also. I could take an 8 too. 8s aren't bad right
and
here.
And you won't complain if somebody ships a number 1 or a select structural or a DSS for the same price.
No, number 2 prime. I mean, you know what? All better, all good.
Yeah,
all good.
Yeah.
Aye. Well,
all right, boys.
I enjoyed it.
You know what? I love you guys.
It's like they say, it's like buddy at college, you say it's been real and it's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun.
It has
Ash,
been
we're going to have to get you a new hat. I'm going to bring
fun.
you a new hat to Montreal.
You bring it up there. And get me a set of teeth like you got, too. Those things those things are freaking nice.
It paints them.
They only look so white.
I just don't want to get yourself in Montreal with a grill.
I just don't want to see you running at me at the woods at night if we're out.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about that. At least you'll be able to find me.
Oh, you guys are killing me. All right, I got to go.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Lumber Word. The Lumber Word podcast is dedicated to engaging conversations about the lumber industry, including trading ideas, market trends, and evaluations of overvalued and undervalued assets. We wish to emphasize that the discussions and opinions expressed in this podcast are purely for informational and entertainment purposes. They should not be considered as financial or investment advice. We encourage our listeners to make their own financial decisions, taking into account their unique circumstances and financial goals, and to seek professional financial advice if necessary.